All right, Monday night, just around 5:30, Monday evening. JD Green aired out. We're on the road. We're at City Hall, actually, with a very, very busy guy right next to me. This is our Barre City Mayor, Lucas Herring, one of the busiest guys I know who, if you see his shirt, you can see that when do you ever stop, buddy? I mean, you just go, go, go.
Well, you get to sleep sometime at night, right?
Man. So you donated blood today for the American Red Cross.
Yeah, over at the Elks, they do it on a rotation. So 6 times a year, you can get in the rotation and make sure that you show up. You can sign up for your next visit when you get there. Yeah. So I've already signed up my next one, which will be September 9th.
Now, you've been donating blood for a while.
Oh, yeah, ever since I could. So since pretty much 18.
All right, so how much does it hurt? Let's find out for the folks that have never donated blood before. Sometimes you get the needle, it's not so bad. Other times, it's pretty bad. Well, no?
It's not bad for me, but what it is they do the 1, 2, 3, and they always push the needle in at 2.
So then, no, are you kidding?
Then you get used to that after a while. But no, it's really a short, little sting for a great cause. So if you think about it, that little bit of time that you feel it in there, it takes about 5 to 7 minutes to donate. Yeah. And then you're all patched up and ready to go.
And right next door at the Elks.
At the Elks Club. Yes.
All right. So, man, we have so much going on, and I want to have you in the studio over at CVTV at some point soon. But this is high time right now. This is like all hands on deck for a very, very busy summer for the Granite City.
Well, just like anywhere else in Vermont, summer is short. So you have 2 to 3 months to try to cram everything in, and we surely try.
Yes, we do. I know we have some ordinances to talk about. Now, hang on a second. Before you think that when I say the word ordinance that it's anything that's boring, hang on. Just give us a second. First off, let's congratulate again Joe Waldsworth, our Barre City Fire Deputy Chief.
Yes, he was given an award up at the annual convention for the American Legion it was a Emeritus Award for the work he did, and you were the person that nominated him.
I nominated him, and he won, which I was so happy about. I just can't think of a guy that's more deserving. And thank you for being there on a Saturday morning. You're just always somewhere, brother.
Yeah,
you're just like me. The only difference is you're the mayor, and you have very important things to be at all the time. Yeah. But it was great that you were there. That meant so much to me. I wanted to say that to you, and I didn't really get a chance. But when I saw you there, I leaned over and I said to Joe, I can't imagine that Mayor Herring would be here. And he said, actually, he's sitting right behind us. I couldn't believe it. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I've known Joe for a long time. Before I was even on city council, I was on the school board, and I worked with him to set up a secondary shelter at the school. So if the BOR ever is not able to be used as that shelter, we can use the Barre City Elementary Middle School in those disastrous needs. So if there's like a hurricane or a flood, and sometimes, you can't even get to the auditorium because of the waters that are in the downtown.
Sure.
It just makes it so there's a secondary location.
Sure. What a guy, though. What a top-notch individual.
Yeah, Joe's always there. I mean, talk about someone else who's busy. He's also very active in the Boy Scouts. So
yes, he is.
I know a lot of young gentlemen who have earned Eagle, and he has been one of their sponsors.
Yes, I just love the guy to pieces. I mean, he's done so much for me personally, but which I could go on and on about. Which at some point I may, but not here today. But he's just done so much for our community. I mean, you talk about somebody that rolls his shirt sleeves up and jumps right in. It doesn't matter what it is. If he has an opportunity to help somebody, he's right there on the front line every time. Thank you, Joe Waldsworth. If you're watching and listening, again, we love you, buddy. Busy summertime. We got the Wednesday farmers markets right here in City Hall Park.
So it's up at Courier Park.
Where the concerts are.
Okay. So what happens is the farmers market goes up pretty much right until when the concerts start. So you can go up there. They're still looking for other vendors. So if you want to come in and join, they're always looking to expand. And it works well because then you can go up and you can get the food that you'd like and then stick around and listen to some music as well.
And amazing food too, we should mention. I mean, local vendors. local grass-fed beef. I mean, just amazing stuff.
Well, and the last one that I saw up there was our very own Series Greens. So
Yeah.
they wanted to get out their name a little bit more. They do the hydroponic growing of the greens, which is all year round. So you can have fresh greens right from here in Barre City.
Yeah. Heritage Festival. That's right around the corner here, coming up in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We should drop the website here, thebarrypartnership.com. That's really the hub. That's where you should go to find out a lot about it.
Is. So in the past, it's been a different site, and right now it's a subpage on their website. So if you go there and you just look under Barre Heritage Festival, it'll be one of the bars on the top of the screen.
Yeah.
And you can click on it, and you'll see the entire schedule.
All right. And I'm so happy that Tim Brick is going to be back on the schedule this year. He'll pack that park big time. But if you want to see all of the performers and everything that's happening, it's not just music. It's not just food. It's art. I mean, it just
events
goes
throughout the day. You have Jazzercise that'll be coming down doing a show as
The
well.
parade's amazing, and it's really geared for the whole family. But if you want to come out on a nice summer night, grab a cold beer, just listen to some fantastic music, and mostly you're supporting the local vendors and buying local and right here in Barre. It's what it's all about. Barre Heritage Festival, which has been going on for God, who knows how long.
Well, it's changed names over time.
Yes,
too. So
right.
it was Homecoming Days.
Homecoming Days.
And it stopped for a little bit in the format that it is now because there was events that, back in the 80s
Sure.
Caused some ruckus.
Yes,
So,
right.
things have changed since then, though. And now City Hall Park is all up and running again with the tent next door to the park where you have all the music going on.
All right. What's going on with all the ordinances in Barre? Hang on. Don't panic when you hear the word ordinance. That is such a boring freaking word. It really is. I mean, you're used to saying the word ordinance.
Well, because it's basically law. It's the law that we set in place for the city. The legislature gives us certain powers, and through our charter, we're able to enact ordinance.
Right.
And some of the things that we've been doing, a vacant building ordinance, what it really is to make sure that if you're a landlord and you have a property that's vacated, or even if you have your own property and nobody's in it, we just want to make sure that it's a safe building.
Yeah.
So, for example, your place that's vacated, it catches on fire. How do we know that there's nobody living in it? The best way to do it, you put it on a list through the vacant building ordinance. We know, the firefighters know, and they can go and they can address the fire quicker.
Sure.
If it is a habitated building, of course, they want to make sure that life is preserved before they worry about property.
Right.
And
True.
That'll be the main concern.
What do you need to know? You need to come here.
Sure. I mean, you can look on our website. You can come to City Hall and basically just register and put that building on the vacant building.
What's that cost?
All the fees are going to be online too.
Okay. There's a composting ordinance that's been written about a little bit in the paper.
Yes. So basically, it was Act 148 of a couple of years ago. So the acts, it could be Act 148 of any year. But what it really means is in an effort to try to take some of those scrap out of the landfill, what they do is they are allowing for composting routes. So if, for instance, you want to have your trash picked up and your recycling picked up, well, this will allow for you to actually have the compost picked up as well. What this also allows, the way that our ordinance was written in the past, you couldn't have refuge on your lawn. So anything that was a self-composting bin that was on your lawn was actually considered illegal. So we had to make sure to change our ordinance to allow for it so that you could do your own private compost.
Why is this a good thing?
Well, because then you don't have to rely on that service. If you want to do it yourself, you want to put a composter out there, you know how to do the active management with it. It'll allow you to take care of that. And if you're taking it out of your trash, it means that you're not paying as much to your trash out as well.
Interesting. Unified development. That's another ordinance that's been
that was
a
complete rewrite. We actually had the Planning Commission work on it. They came back, they presented it to us. There were a number of changes or modifications to it, but the original plan, it was a document that was really tough to read. There was no table to find out, if I lived in this section of the city, what does that mean? What does R14 mean? So if residential, how compact are all the units in that residential segment of the city? What can I do for signage in my area? What if it's multiple use?
Right.
So now you have a nice map that you can actually just look at the city where you are. You can reference what that section is. You can go to a table and you can kind of.
So this is for basic. This is basically zoning. I mean, that's
it is zoning.
It's what it is. So if you're interested in building an outbuilding, or you want to put a swimming pool in, or whatever.
Right. So, for example, if there was a building in the downtown that has been vacant for 10 years and the current owner isn't doing anything with it, but you want to buy it and you want to do something with it.
Sure.
It gives you some guidelines to understand how that building could and should be constructed.
Yeah.
You don't want to put, for example, a little mobile home trailer on property right in the middle of the downtown.
Right.
So it's not zoned for that. It's zoned for, buildings that are going to be 3 stories high. You can have storefronts on the first floor, residential on the second floor. If you're going to have something that's more of a single unit building, we also allowed for tiny houses, for example, to be constructed on different segments in the residential
Interesting.
area.
So what's the best website to get that zoning map?
Sure. So anything that we mentioned tonight, if you go to barrecity.org, there's drop-down lists. There's one that's just specifically for ordinances, and you can go under it. Same thing with any of the fees or any questions that you have. We also have all the contact information for all city staff out there. So if you have a message for the clerk or for the city manager, you can just either call them or send them an email.
What about the message for?
Oh, yeah. So any city councilor or the mayor, you can go on the website as well. I actually have a section, it's called an update from the desk of the mayor. Every month, I go through all of our meetings and I kind of list out the details of what our outcomes are.
Okay.
So you don't have to come to every meeting and still get a synopsis of what we do on a monthly basis.
All right. So that's also a way that you can go maybe and read the minutes from the Tuesday night city council meeting.
Yeah. So every Tuesday we meet. During the summer, we've been taking off the first Tuesday. So you can come the second, third, or fourth, and we'll be here every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
And the public's invited.
Public is always invited.
We have to make sure that people know that.
Yeah. I mean,
because I think that some people anyway, might think that a city council meeting is a closed group of big dogs like yourself. Meeting.
I'm not a big dog.
You're a big dog with a big suit.
I'm just a resident just like anybody else here. But,
yes, you are.
You are. The room that we're in, this is city council chambers.
Yeah, right
on this side, you can't really see it, but there's a little dais that our seats are at. And then where we are at, this is a table this table actually moves out and it's all put out as chairs.
And
so the public can come and sit here and watch the meeting.
And if you have an issue with anything, please come to
any city council meeting.
The next city council meeting.
There's a section called Visitors and Communications at the beginning of each meeting. It doesn't mean you might get an answer at that meeting, but you can at least present what your issue is.
Right.
And then we can take a look into it.
Let's also mention that if you're not able to attend one of the city council meetings, my God, get on Central Vermont Television, CVTV. It's all right there.
CVTV723.org. And
CVTV723.org.
So, and if you don't watch it live, which it is broadcast live,
that's cool.
You can actually watch all the videos. They're all stored up there. So if you want to watch it video wise, you can. The meetings are usually 2 to 3 hours long.
Sure.
And if you want it more condensed, there's the minutes. And then even more condensed is what I do on a monthly basis. And I try to give a synopsis.
All right. What's going on with this whole Wheelock house?
Sure. So about 6 months ago, we had a conversation about the usage of the building. I had originally proposed it to be a teen center.
I remember that.
So
we talked about that on Aired Out.
We did.
Yeah.
So in order for me to go out and try to find grants or anything, I need to know what the usage of the building is going to be. So 6 months ago, it was decided that we're going to see if the space could be sold. We had a turnover of a couple of counselors during that time. So the new counselors went and they checked the building out. They saw what the usage could be, and they decided that they didn't want to sell the building. They wanted to try to see if we could use it for other purposes for the city. So we're actually having a meeting tomorrow night at 6 p.m. So right before we have our 7 p.m. council meeting on Tuesday, we have our 6 p.m. meeting over at the Wheelock House, and it's open to the public. You can come on down, and we can discuss what people feel would be the best usage of that building, whether it be a teen center, a location for the Barre partnership, a multitude of things. It could be both. The building is quite long. The spot on Main Street was considered to be the location for the partnership, so they had to have a street front presence.
Yeah.
And then in the backside, right now, if you go out there, you're going to see that it's called the Keith Avenue parking lot being constructed. the Pearl Street side was a one-way street. They're making a walkway, and then the whole parking lot's being redone. So it's going to look nicer. There's going to be lighting out there. And then on the Keith Avenue side, it's the street that's going to be redone. So you have two entrances to get to that section, and there's parking. So if students, we're talking about high school age students who want to have a safe place to go, they would have one.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That I want to have you back on Aired Out real soon to give updates on all of these things and more. So hopefully you'll have something.
Yeah, if we can find time, right?
We will find time. We're finding time right now. This is Barre City Mayor Lucas Herring with me on Aired Out. Here we are on a Monday night over at City Hall, just chewing the fat, just chatting a little bit. What's going on with the BOR arena? I see the write-up in the Times-Argus that we've got a refrigeration system for the ice that's around 45 years old.
So it's about 45 years old, but about 20 to 25 years ago, they refreshed it. They refurbished the equipment. So it was due. It was one of those projects that when you look at all of the items that the city needs, we have a lot of items that are old and aging, and that's why when you look at trying to keep the taxes down, it also means that some of the projects get deferred. And this was one of them that wasn't on the list for this year, so it was an unbudgeted item. Yeah. Which that was the difficulty of it. Of course, we want to keep the BOR open so that kids can play hockey. You can go out for free skate, but at the same time, you need to find the money for it.
Right.
So we held a special meeting. The intent was to make sure that we would know where the money was coming from, and we actually had one of the best turnouts that I've ever seen. Even before I was on mayor, I was on city council.
Wow.
And it was, this whole room was packed. The doors, people on both sides of them, on the other side of the wall, because it was, something that hit home to it.
Sure, of course. Well, it's right here in our backyard. It's been there for a million years. So we're talking about what, $100,000?
It's roughly about $100,000. And what we ended up doing was we had a bond that was a $1.15 million bond for a number of projects that we were hoping to work on. And about 2/3 of those projects are already underway. So we know what the funding mechanism is going to be for each one of them. And there was an amount in there for contingency. So the contingency is what we're planning to use right now for this repair. So what ended up being...
What's that mean? Break it down.
Sure. So out of the $1.15 million bond, there was about $90,000 in there budgeted for contingency because we didn't know those other projects, what the real cost was. When say you wanted to build a deck on your house, you think you know how much it's going to be, but it might not be that cost. It might be a little more. It might be a little less. So we do our best guess to get the money into that bond so we can do the repairs. And the contingency was there in case those were we underestimated and it would cost more. So since those are coming in on budget, there was a little bit extra in there. It was about $90,000, and we're going to see what else we can get for community support for other pieces of it in order to keep that up and running. But,
so the taxpayers won't have to pay for it.
Well, right. So
basically,
but 90,000 of it already comes out of the bond. So if there's a little bit more, then yes, we'll take the support that we can get. The other side of the coin was, which was expressed at the meeting, the most people that use the facility are actually not from Barre City. So how much of this falls on the Barre City taxpayer versus the utilization of the building itself? So if it means that the ICE rate has to go up to support the building, that's another way to look at it.
Yeah, there's so many surrounding communities. All the championships are at the BOR.
They are. Well, and the auditorium. So the same conversation happens there for if you want to keep the basketball championships up there, then you have to make sure that you have the right rate, that you have the taxes to support the building. You bring in other venues to help keep that rate down, making sure that both are functioning well. Sure.
I was reading the newspaper article up at the Barre Gardens nursing home to some of the folks up there, some of the residents about the BOR, and I got mixed reaction. Of course, everything from, of course, we should be paying for that. If anything to keep the ice up there, come on, that's a huge tradition. To, oh my God, didn't we just put $1 million into painting the roof up there, or the ceiling? I guess it was.
Yeah, it wasn't $1 million, but there was quite a bit of money that we did paint the roof, and really it's a protective coat so that you have a lot of condensation that actually comes off from the ice
Sure.
and goes onto the ceiling.
Yeah.
But right, it's all part of maintenance. So if you think about it, just like the building that we're in now,
Sure.
we have the Opera House above us.
Yeah.
They have needs in that section. We have needs in this section. There was a boiler last year. Again, another one of those repairs that we were trying to do. And the boiler blew before we had an ability to go out for an RFP.
Sure.
We luckily had the money in our budget for it last year to fix it. But, you know, one of these things can happen at any moment.
Right.
This building, another building. You know, we're looking at other repairs at the auditorium, which include the boiler up there. So then this is even before we get to talk about roads. So when people are saying, you know, there's potholes, there's all sorts of things that we're looking into.
Yeah. Last time I had you on Aired Out, we were talking about the general safety and health of the Granite City. You were mentioning that there might be a cut with the Barre bees. I think that's what they're called.
Yeah. So we don't have the bees anymore.
These are the black and white, or I'm sorry, yellow and black dressed bicyclists who are basically touring throughout the city.
Well, right.
To have an extra set of eyes.
Yeah, and what it was you had kids that were, I shouldn't say kids, young adults. They were either right out of high school or some were back on college break. And what they were doing was they were riding a bicycle around and just making sure things were being noticed and reported if needed.
Sure.
So we've kind of supplanted that a bit with our neighborhood watch program.
Okay.
So if you go into any one of the neighborhoods, you have the opportunity to be a part of a group that does pretty much the same thing. You're the eyes and the ears, and you can report it to the officers.
Excellent.
The bees.
You should get registered to do that, though.
Just come to a meeting or
send
us a message and say, I'm interested.
Right.
And we've already set up meetings with about 23 different areas of the city.
All right.
We should, by the end of the year, be around 30.
Okay.
And that way each neighborhood has an ability to come together and meet, talk about not only crime, but really, do you even know who your neighbors are?
Sure.
I mean, in this day and age, we are so much on our devices and we don't go for a cup of sugar next door like they used to.
Of course.
But we are neighbors. And if we want to be able to know who they are, feel safer in our community, the best thing to do is just get to know who each other are.
Sure. So you were saying something about the bees, and I interrupted you.
Sure. So with the bees, it's not like there were extra police officers. They are not accredited. They can't write tickets.
Yeah.
So what it was, though, was an individual that you could report things to and feel comfortable with.
Right.
So when I say supplant that with the neighborhood watch, what I really mean is we should be able to be comfortable with one another to be able to have that conversation, talk about issues that we're having in our neighborhood, and then also be able to talk to our police officers.
Right. So tomorrow night, 7:00, right here where we're sitting.
City Council.
Mm-hmm. Please come be a part. Do you have to live in Barre City to come?
You don't have to. I mean, we have people that come from other communities.
Yeah.
We have presentations from people from Central Vermont Medical Center, for example, and they're up in Berlin.
Okay.
Even GMTA, they have their next gen conversation about the busing, and they've been in before. But you know, it's all about what people are interested in. And if you're interested in Barre, feel free to come.
What I love about doing this program, this podcast, is that I'm able to, with a situation like this, you're a busy guy. We're both moving targets, but for me to come to you every now and then is
this is great.
Particularly enjoyable.
Yeah, what I'll be doing after this, we're actually having one of the neighborhood watch meetings. It's for Circle Street.
Yeah.
And they'll be meeting up at Alumni Hall on the second floor. So that's my next meeting.
All right, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you. Lucas Herring, our mayor, Barre City mayor, who's just a heck of a guy, who's watching things very carefully on our city here.
And JD's a heck of a guy, too.
Yeah, well, you know, thank you very much for watching, for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.